Wade, did you get to see any of New Japan's resurgence on Sunday night at the Walter Pyramid?
Yeah, I watched the six man, and that probably was the least newsworthy thing coming out of the show. So I have yet to watch some of the other incidents, but I did see the injury to
Mhm.
Mercedes Monet.
Yeah, unfortunately, the biggest story coming out of a Sunday show, which I thought was a very lively crowd of the really hot crowd in Long Beach, but a lot of the show was built around the one night tournament with Mercedes Monet and Willow Nightingale going to the finals. And Mercedes was on the top turnbuckle, and it looked to be as though she was going for like a sunset flip or code red off the top, and slips and just goes right down to the floor. And you can see she is not putting any weight onto her right foot as she is getting back, and they're sort of just going from spot to spot here. And Willow hits a doctor bomb, and the referee is counting 1, 2, and it's that awful moment in a match where everything grinds to a halt. The referee, I mean, we know now that, I mean, this was not supposed to be the finish. So he's holding up, and I felt bad for the ref here. It's like, you don't want to, you're assuming one person is winning, and you don't want to like screw something up if they're maybe just not kicking out for whatever reason. So the whole crowd just sort of latches onto this. They know there's a screw up, and then they just go to another Dr. Bomb spot. This time, Mercedes, well, I mean, she stayed down the first time, and this time the 3 count is registered, and Willow Nightingale wins. So we have not heard for certain what the exact injury is to Mercedes, if it's in fact a broken ankle or just, or if it's something less. But obviously that was the body part that was affected. And since then, I mean, has been noted that Mercedes was supposed to win this match, and the audible was called due to the injury. And this is the update that we got from Mercedes, just posting from a hospital bed, but not getting specific about injury or a time that this could mean for her. Obviously, if the title was going to be going on to her, they had follow-up plans with her as well. But I also don't want this to take away from the moment that was Willow Nightingale winning this match, because she is caught in the middle of this whole thing, and she just sold this as like this unbelievable win. And I don't think it was her like putting on any kind of dramatic performance here. I mean, she was in the moment of what has just happened and just smiling. She had this great speech. I thought like Ian Riccaboni, who did not know the finish of the match, regardless, is calling this, and he had this excellent call. Veda Scott is getting choked up, like they're reacting to this. It was like a really cool moment, but under the unfortunate circumstances of a real injury that Mercedes sustained.
Totally, yeah. I feel like so often in pro wrestling, if these injuries happen, typically they just, especially if there's a title at stake, they just do whatever they can to have the injured person try to finish the match. In this case, I think we should commend whoever's decision it was to go to, I think, the right finish, and that's to have the person who wasn't supposed to win but isn't injured to just end the match, basically. And I don't know if they could have found a better person in the other spot than a Willow, like somebody who I think a lot of us who watch AEW and probably ROH want to see in a bigger role. She was not planned to be in a bigger role, but now she is, and I really think
it's almost like by force she is going to get this push.
By force, she's going to get pushed. But again, she is somebody who everybody wants to see in a position like this anyway. So really unfortunate what happened, but really they found a great option to go to in the ring.
Yeah, again, like it's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but you've been handed this incredible scenario and have a chance to, like, obviously when Mercedes is healthy, this is an easy rematch that means so much more.
Yeah.
And at this point, like this is not the worst outcome if you are New Japan, in the sense of moving this title forward and having an opponent for Mercedes. And obviously you just look at Mercedes, and if it is in fact a broken ankle like that's going to set her back at that point. So hoping that we get an update, and maybe it is not as bad as feared, but again, she has not disclosed the severity of the injury, but certainly was concerning when you were watching it, and the fact that it was, she cannot put any weight on it. And then as Willow is celebrating, you just see she is carried to the back, and they did not put the camera on her. They were trying to just divert attention from the injury and just focusing on Willow as the show ended. But but this audience, I mean, they treated this as like the ultimate upset of Willow winning this, which I don't think anyone was expecting going into this show and going into that final match of the night, which, for those that missed it, this did close the show. This had to follow Tanahashi and Will Ospreay, which was a pretty excellent match.
The first women's main event in New Japan, or at least like in the, like, is it ever? It must be, right?
Yeah, because they did not San Jose. They did not close with Mercedes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Especially in the case of these sort of interpromotional things, I I'm guessing Willow sort of has that sort of ability to work New Japan Strong whenever she wants. But I would imagine she would be booked for other commitments, with ROH or AEW as well. So how did the pieces kind of fall in place with everybody organizing everything? What plans did they have for Mercedes Moné going forward that they now have to scrap?
Yeah, I mean, it's a worthwhile question. I mean, if they were going to set her up for, I mean, it's interesting, this whole creation of the title in conjunction with the IWGP Women's Championship that we were led to believe was going to be a title that would be defended over here in the US. And now with the addition of this title, like, this feels more like the US based title, and the IWGP Women's title as more of your Japanese title. So I mean, I don't know if this would have been setting up Mercedes to go over there for Dominion in a couple of weeks. It seems like it is like this title is going to be more so for your strong shows over here.
Right. And maybe any thought at this point about Forbidden Door and whether or not this championship was supposed to through either Mercedes, or will it get any sort of appearance right now with Willow?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would say, like, obviously it would seem much easier to get Willow on that show for a variety of reasons at this juncture. Yeah, I think it opens the door, most of all for Willow Nightingale. I think that this kind of forces the hand of whether you had her slotted for something significant. Now you've sort of been willed into a way where you have to at least give some short-term run. And if they're smart, listen to that audience. And like, she was the sentimental favorite, even though like the big underdog, and overcoming this, like, you have a story to tell there. And I think you run with this. It's unfortunate, but there's a silver lining to this. It was not all bad news coming out of Sunday. So that was I guess the biggest news story on there. As I mentioned, Will Ospreay beat Tanahashi. Very strong match that the two had, and that sets up Ospreay and Lance Archer at Dominion. The winner of that will get a U.S. title shot against Kenny Omega at a date to be determined. They have not stated for certain if that will be Forbidden Door. That's what people are expecting. And I think going into this, most expecting that Will Ospreay wins this match. Lance Archer will be the underdog, like Willow Nightingale, in that match.
Although, I mean, what do we know of Will Ospreay's shoulder right now? Could Lance Archer find himself in a weird situation? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if Lance Archer facing Kenny Omega would be as satisfying for people beyond a television match.
No, of course not. But I hope Will's in good shape. I mean, he potentially has quite the significant amount of matches coming up.
Dude, he's going to be expected for the G1 this summer. He's got Shingo at the Rev Pro show at the end of August. Mm-hmm. God knows how many other big matches he's going to be having before the end of the year. There's going to be a lot of demand on his body this year. Kenta regained the strong open weight title after Hikuleo held it for a cup of coffee, and then was issued a challenge by Eddie Kingston. So that match will be coming up down the road. And they also announced New Japan Strong cards in Korakuen Hall for July 4th and 5th, which Eddie Kingston will be part of those shows, they announced. Other news on the show was Mark Davis coming out, it was Kyle Fletcher that came out stating that Mark Davis is injured, and therefore, with their title matches coming up, they have to vacate both the IWGP and Strong Tag Team Championships. They were supposed to have that triple threat at Dominion. So those titles are vacant and will be decided by Goto and Yoshihashi taking on Evil and Yujiro. I can only hope that Yujiro and Evil come out of this as your IWGP Tag Champions, and that's our match with FTR.
It's I guess it's possible, but bad news for Aussie Open. You know, they've been really on quite the run. But
this did not, based on Fletcher's wording, was we're not going to be gone for as long as something to the effect of we won't be gone as long as you think. It sounds like this is not a massive injury. It's just the New Japan style of you have a title defense, and if you can't make that defense, you're stripped of the titles unless you're under a WWE contract, and we have a date on you.
Right. But, you know, they've gained, I think, a whole lot of traction throughout this better part of the past year. And sometimes time away is good for making people miss you, and they can build to a big comeback.
Yeah. So I haven't seen the whole show, but I saw about half of it, and it was a great sounding crowd. Like sometimes we talk about these shows that they're just not mic'd properly, and then you hear from people live that says, you know, the crowd was really hot, but it did not come across. This was not the case for this show. It sounded really loud, and it was 3,000 people. And you know, the Walter Pyramid, it's like it's not visually the most pleasing arena, but I thought like the crowd heat, it worked. And I thought the commentary team, Alex Kozlov was there as well with Veda Scott and Ian Riccaboni. The three of them did a very good job on this show. AEW Collision ticket sales.
And just a note, Bruce Lord and Karen Peterson right now at the Post Wrestling Cafe have a Resurgence review. So do go check those two out on postwrestlingcafe.com.
Yes, that's up for all Cafe members. A 90-minute review with Bruce and Karen going through all of the action from Sunday. And Tuesday is the Hana Kimura Memorial Show, and Karen Peterson will be doing a report for that on the site. So if you want to look that up, it's been 3 years since Hana Kimura died tragically. So that show is happening on Tuesday in Japan.